So the AI shift, people are now using websites in a completely different way. I mean, I suppose we're starting to do it. Yeah, people are now using websites in a different way, and it's no longer just go to Google, search for something, visit the website, and have a look at the website. It's now moving towards this, and what I'm saying is that as marketers, we need to be ahead of the curve. Yes, this is happening right now, but it's not happening to such an extent where it's the only thing that's happening. So what I'm saying is that let's get ahead. Let's make sure our websites, let's make sure your websites, your clients, your customers, let's just make sure these websites are ahead of the curve or on track. You don't want to be left behind. Well, you don't want to be left behind. Did I say that right? Sounds strange. Anyway, so we're moving now towards ChatGPT slash AI, or so you're then getting the answer. You might visit the website and then you might browse. So sometimes, remember, we're going to touch a bit about this, but when you're finding information on ChatGPT, sometimes you're just looking for the answer and it'll suffice. But sometimes you want more information. Oh, that's interesting. I want to read more about that. So that's when it might lead to going to the website and browsing. So you can see I suppose we've not added it, but a new element has been included in this. So this is something we need to be aware of. So ChatGPT AI, you're searching for something. In some cases, you're happy with the answer, a bit like, do you know when you go to Google and when you Google something these days, sometimes in that light blue section at the top, you've already got the answer. So you don't really need to go to the website. Where in the past you would have Googled it, found the website, gone to the website, found out what you're looking for, and answered your own question. But in this case, you're not even having to go to the website. So that's what we call answer engine optimization. In other cases where you're just going to ChatGPT, you're getting the information from a variety of sources, and then that would be what we call GEO, generative engine optimization. And if you're confused about what AEO and GEO is, don't worry, we're going to be coming to that on the next slide. But the point I wanted to make here is that be aware of this AI shift about what is happening. So, AEO, what is it? So, as I mentioned in my Google example just then, with AEO, which stands for Answer Engine Optimization, I should have maybe put that on the screen, shouldn't I? But Answer Engine Optimization, it's about being the answer. I'm just going to do that right now, actually. Oops. So, Answer Engine. Oops. Maybe I should. So, AEO, what is that? It's answer engine optimization, as we've just been saying. And in the example I just shared with you, it's about being the answer. So when you Google something and there's an answer at the top, where has Google got that information from? And the website has got the information from is because it has ranked it higher, or it has used that as AEO, as in it has enough authority to be the answer. Clear, concise, structured content. This is what we want from AEO. You don't need something that's too long, too inquisitive, too boring, even. You need to be straight to the point so Google can say, yep, that's the answer, lift that and show it to the person who's looking for it. And what we're looking for here is specific questions. And this means you have to structure your website to make sure you're answering that specific question in the case of AEO, which is answer engine optimization. Going back to, well, not going back, but we go into this in more detail in the SEO section, which will be which has been updated. And once again, it is updated to tell you what we mean by AEO and obviously GEO and how we can make that happen. But for the case of this particular module in terms of websites, we're just giving you an idea of how websites have changed. So AEO, the website has to produce the answer to be ranked for AEO. It has to be the answer. It gives clear, concise, structured content in the way of an answer, and it has to be answering those specific questions. And as I mentioned, the structure of that we talk about in the SEO module. So, what is GEO? And once again, I think it would make sense if I actually put the writing on here. So, if you just give me 1 second, I'll add that. Mm, okay, thank you. So now GEO, well, obviously stands for Generative Engine Optimization. So what is the aim of this? The aim here is to be part of the conversation. So you're not specifically like AEO trying to find the exact answer, but in this case, it's the generative answer. So it's obviously generative AI. So if you go into ChatGPT and say, tell me about summer and barbecues or something like that, there's a reason why I've mentioned that. We'll come to that later. But if you want to say, yeah, tell me about barbecues and the summer and what barbecues people buy, etc., etc., then oops. So that will be trying to be part of that conversation. And you will see something like ChatGPT will give you some information, but it won't give you just, well, and then it'll give you sources. It'll say, this is where I've got this information from. So it might give you a website, it might give you a PDF or whatever it might be, but it will give you sources of information. And generative optimization is being part of that conversation. So you will be one of the sources used. Need to be referenced or be referred to. So if you want to be ranked for GEO, you want to be in that conversation. So what Google or ChatGPT or anything will try to find, or yeah, I suppose ChatGPT will say, well, this content I'm going to source, is it referenced by somebody else? Is it referred to by somebody else? Requires you to be seen as an expert or an authority on the subject. Once again, if it's going to quote you as one of the sources, you need to show some sort of expertise. So once again, the things that are involved in establishing yourself as an expert or as an authority on the subject need to be, well, you need to have that to be part of that conversation. Where are you referenced? Other sites, directories, and platforms. So, as I mentioned earlier, there with regard to referencing, where are you referenced? Is it just a case of it's not just a case of being on 500 different backlinks that no one clicks on. If you've been mentioned in Forbes magazine, if you've been mentioned in the Financial Times, if you've been mentioned in, I'm trying to think of a garden or barbecue related um, publication. But if you're mentioned in something that is related to the subject, that looks good. And what makes it look even better is if people are getting value out of it. So clicking that. So where are you referenced is important. So yes, as I mentioned, be referenced or be referred to, but the platform, the directory, the site, all these things make a difference. Keep the content simple and make it easy to interpret. And remember, I suppose in the past you could say we were looking at bots and Google was using the bots to get the information. Now you want it to feel a bit more human, don't you? I suppose that's all. It should always be aimed at towards the human. But for those of you who are involved in SEO, which is search engine optimization, or people who are involved in this subject, you would have always had one eye thinking, well, Google needs to find this. Because if your information is great for the customer, you've always been worried, is it going to be found by Google? But you can see there what we mean. So AEO and GEO, there's more information on the SEO module updates. But for the time being, you need to just know enough. So when you're creating your website, you're doing it the right way.